All right, welcome back to the Fantasy Labs podcast. This is Brian. I'm here with Jay. It's Tuesday night, so we are going over the Wednesday slate. And Jay is, if you watched last week, Jay is joining us on our Tuesday slates, or no, the Wednesday slates, but Tuesday videos from now on to the end of the season. So he's going to hop on and talk to me about the slate. So Jay, how's it going, man?
Good, Brian. Just snowed in, waiting for hoops to start.
Are you snowed in, really?
We got enough snow to bury Isaiah Thomas, so
What?
yeah, a little bit.
Jeez. It's here in North Carolina, it was about 65 today.
Yeah, it's usually nice here, but sometimes we get that heavy snow. I'm just trying to see if Grubhub can deliver via sled dogs.
True that, yeah.
Pretty nice.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Good idea for them too, because I'm sure you would pay like a pretty good surcharge.
I'd pay pretty heavy right now for sure. Yeah.
I hear you. Cool. So let's go through the slate. We got a big slate. We got 10 games, so let's get through it as fast as we can. I know that some of you guys have said that you want us to go shorter, and we'll try our best. I promise. It's just on these 10 game slates. It's really hard to get through them really quick, but we'll do our best. But we'll go ahead and jump into it just so we can try to get through it quick. So let's start. First game that I have listed on the slate is Brooklyn at Charlotte, and that's a 7 o'clock game. And this is back-to-back for both teams, right?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay, so back-to-back for both teams. Over-under is posted, and it is 196.5, so pretty low. Spread is moderately large. Charlotte is 7.5-point favorites. So put some implied points in Brooklyn at 94.5 and Charlotte at 102. So let's start on the Brooklyn side. Any guys stand out for you as good values or guys that you're looking at?
Yeah, there's a couple guys in this game, even though it's a bad game, another Eastern Conference. We should probably start with the West Coast games maybe next week to keep viewers. But Brook Lopez, is kind of a cash consideration for me. And Jarrett Jack's more of a tourney play, but his price is only $5,900 on DraftKings. So
I've been killing it lately.
Yeah, he's implied at that's only 28.5, and his average is 32.5. So he's pretty solid value. And then Brook Lopez, Charlotte's not very good at defending the roll man, so I think they'll look to feed him early and often.
Yeah, for sure. Jack has actually looked pretty good. I don't think he's very good in real life, but has put together a couple of solid games. I mean, he put up a 28 point, 4 rebound, 9 assists game against Golden State the other night. So
yeah, Brooklyn's actually been, they're so bad, but they beat Houston. They took Golden State to overtime. They scored 109 against Sacramento. They're actually scoring, so there's some value in this garbage game.
Yeah, for sure. And Lopez is interesting. I'm not sure why he's still so cheap at 72. It seems like a good deal, but it just kind of seems that the entire center position is just kind of like that this year. Have you noticed that, where they just don't raise guys above like Drummond is obviously up there, but other than that, you have like Howard and Lopez and Marc Gasol and all these guys that are 7K-ish, and they just don't raise them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I found myself going 2 centers like a lot. Yeah, almost every night for my cash squad, just because, you can always find value there.
2 centers is the new 2 tight ends.
Yeah, for sure.
But I do think it is a good idea to like make sure you understand that like sites do change their pricing. So like last year, it probably wasn't a good idea to do this just because the pricing was different. But this year, just because their pricing is a little bit softer on centers, it is a good idea to do that. And that's why like people always ask like, hey, do you have any like articles or things that I can read to like get a primer on NBA DFS? And the problem is that these things update all the time. So you could read a primer from last year and it would say like centers are overvalued on DraftKings, but that's just not the way this year. So it's always good to kind of keep track of, how sites price things and kind of adapt to them because they change a lot.
Yeah, pricing is usually pretty fluid with these sites, so it's always important to stay on top of it.
Yeah, for sure. So anyone else on Brooklyn side? I agree that I like Lopez. I think he's fine just because of what we talked about, centers being kind of undervalued and they just don't want to raise their salaries. Jared Jack, I still think is underpriced, so I'm fine with him. But any of these other guys interest you? The
Just
low implied point total kind of scares me off here.
yeah, it's not a great game. So Thaddeus Young, I think you can consider for tournaments. He's
Yeah,
priced pretty low. He's only 5,800 on FanDuel.
yeah,
And he's kind of one of their only consistent players. But he's had some decent lines and not a bad price. I'd consider him, but I won't really have many shares.
yeah. Yeah, that's fair. I think it is interesting that these three main guys, Lopez, Thad, and Jared Jack, they aren't like super like take turny. They can all like go off in the same game, and it's not like you have to take one and avoid the other. Not saying you should stack Brooklyn Nets. I'm just saying that just because you love Lopez doesn't mean that you should like innately hate the other two. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I probably wouldn't stack Brooklyn.
No, probably not. Probably not a plus EV move, but you could, Cool. So on Charlotte's side, where's the value stand out for you?
I'm looking at Batum right now. He's so hot. 7K on DK and 7,200 on FanDuel. So implied 30, and he's averaged 40 in his last 4 games. He's got a good usage rate, and if he sees Joe Johnson on him on defense, that's pretty solid. Joe Johnson has a defensive rating of 110, so 6th worst in the league.
That doesn't sound good.
No, and then the Nets allow their opposing teams to shoot really, really well from three. Batum takes 5 a game, so he's in a really good spot here.
Yeah, his price is up a little bit. Just lately, they have bumped him up. He was kind of in the 65K range, but it's now up at 7K. But I still think that's probably not really close to where he should be. So you're fine with him in cash?
Yeah, on this slate, I probably won't go in, but yeah, I think his price is fine. It's not great though. You're right; they bumped him up, and he'd be much better at 6,500. But he's still certainly a pretty solid option there.
Yeah, for sure. What do you think of Big Al?
Yeah, Brooklyn has the 2nd worst field goal percentage defensively against post-ups, and obviously Big Al lives in the post-up. So I like him a lot, actually, in this game. I'm looking more of a tourney play because his minutes are worrisome.
Yeah.
So kind of the same thing we talked about last time. If I knew he would get big minutes, yeah, I'd fire him up in cash. He's got a soft price, great matchup.
Yeah.
Could still have those big lines as indicated by last game.
Yeah, agreed. He's definitely tourney only for me, but I don't necessarily see myself going a lot of Big Al, mostly just because of the large slate. But yeah, you're right. His minutes have just been kind of all over the place. And kind of same with a lot of these guys, even on the wing for the Hornets. And the other guy that I'm kind of interested in is Jeremy Lamb, who's at 45. So still pretty reasonable. His minutes have been kind of up and down, though. He got 28, 32 the last 2 games. Before that was in the low 20s. But still kind of steady, like mid-20 fantasy point production, kind of regardless of minutes. So, I think you could do worse as a tournament play.
Yeah. If Hairston is out again, we'll see how Lamb does tonight, but he's certainly a tournament option for tomorrow if Hairston continues to be out.
Yeah. Anyone else? I mean, Jared Jack ain't the best defender. See you on Kemba in tournaments at all?
Yeah, I absolutely am. Just because of Jarrett Jack, he cannot defend spot-up shots. Kemba should take advantage, but keyword is should. So still kind of waiting for that to happen. But yeah, he's in a great spot. I love him for tournaments, and then we'll see how Cody Zeller does tonight in the starting 5. He might have consideration tomorrow as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be interested to see where his minutes are, because they're just all over the place, and I've been frustrated with that as a Hornets guy for ever since Cody kind of came into the league. But we'll see. Even though he starts and it's exciting, and you think that Cody's going to take that step up, he usually still doesn't get the minute bump that you maybe think that he should. So we'll see. Yeah, definitely something to pay attention to tonight in preparation for tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so let's move on to the next game, which is I have Indy at Philly, and don't have an over-under, but I do have a spread, and it is Pacers -7. So let's start with the Pacers. Any guys stand out to you? I mean, obviously going against Philly is always a good spot. Paul George is a little up in price. He's up at 95 after being, kind of in the upper 8, low 9K range, up at 95, but obviously a good matchup.
Yeah, Paul George's in a pretty good spot here, but that price is pretty tough. Batum is 7K. But Paul George is scoring 25 a game every night, and he's got a really high usage rate, scores in ISO, off screens, in transition. So I really, really like him in this spot. People think the Sixers D is worse than it actually is, but they're dead last in transition D, and I think that's where George and even Monte will kind of kill them. They're also, I think, last in turnovers, so they should have some success on those turnovers, converting them into scoring in transition.
Yeah, agreed. I'm not super on Paul George and cash. I don't think it's a bad play by any means. I think that he's just super steady. So I think that if you just want really safe, then that's definitely fine. And I don't think that the Indies in danger of blowing out Philly or anything like that. So I think it's fine. So what are you doing with the backcourt now that it looks like probably George Hill probably going to be back? He had a infection and so was out last game. Obviously Ellis was the play. But if those guys are back, how are you kind of dealing with that situation?
Yeah, if they're back, that just makes, Hill and Monte tournament plays that I won't have much exposure to. If he's out, though, Hill, I think he's questionable as of now, then I think you got to strongly consider Monte. He had a season-high 29% usage rate the other night. And, same thing as George scoring in transition against this Philly team. Monte can easily snag a few steals and take it coast to coast.
Yeah, for sure. And he actually had a bad start to the game the other night and still ended up exceeding value by quite a bit. He
did have a horrible start, yeah. Really bad.
Yeah. So so when you get a guy like that, at a cheap price and obviously that high usage rate, obviously a good spot. He is up at 6K after being in the mid 5s. So a little bit, but obviously if George Hill is out, then a great spot. Any of these other indie guys, you looking at any of the front court, maybe Mahinmi at 42, or you just off?
I'm off Mahinmi. I never really go him just because kind of a lack of upside. I'd consider CJ Miles if Stuckey and Hill are out. It's kind of a wait and see with Hill's pretty important.
Yeah.
So even for Paul George, if Hill's back, then that'd probably give me reason to kind of fade George at 95, and especially Monte. But CJ Miles, he's like the ultimate tourney play. He could hit 5 threes like he did the other night, or he could roll his ankle 3 minutes in the game and, sit on the sideline. So, just a spot up shooter, really dependent on his threes. But if they're thin again, then he should garner some exposure in tournaments.
Yeah, and probably an actually kind of a decent contrarian pivot to Monte if that was the case, because obviously most people would be on him. So CJ Miles would probably have a decreased ownership rate just because people would be on Ellis and not want to go both of them.
Right.
Budinger was a thing for a half a second, and then people realized that he's not that great. So 18 to start, but 6.5 fantasy points, not great. So
yeah, I had a friend who started him in cash the other night.
Really?
We'll just say that. Yeah, it wasn't me.
Wow. It wasn't you, a friend. Yeah, I've heard that before.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go to the Philly side of it. So their top guys, Okafor at 72, Nerlens at 69, McConnell's actually kind of coming down a little bit now at 54. Any of these guys interest you?
Yeah, there's more value here when Noel's out. Obviously, you got Covington back now on a minutes limit.
Yeah.
But I think you kind of still have to consider Noel. Anytime you kind of have a guy who can double nightly and get blocks and steals, he's got to be in consideration.
Yeah, agreed. Noel is always kind of a tournament play. You need to take a whole lot of time and say that again because I do it every single pod. But Okafor has actually like been still like have high usage and still steady even with Nerlens back.
Yeah, Okafor is in cash play for me too.
Yeah.
He lives in the post, 39.2% frequency in post ups, and Indiana's not a great rebounding team without Hibbert, so there's nothing scary about this matchup.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. TJ McConnell, so he is another guy who I'm kind of waiting to see what's going to happen with George Hill before I kind of make my decision on him. We saw last game George Hill was out and Derrick Rose had a lot of success because George Hill is a really good defender and Derrick Rose was able to get to the lane and do some stuff. And I think McConnell could have some similar success if Hill is out and he's guarded by some of the other wing defenders that aren't so good, whether it's Monte playing point guard or whatever. So is it kind of the same deal for you? Just wait on Hill?
Yeah, I agree completely. He's a tourney play now, and then, if Hill's out, he's kind of creeps into that cash game. I always fade him. So young Steve Nash, he hasn't shot a free throw this entire season.
Are you serious?
Yeah, not one single free throw.
How did I miss that? Yo, you're right.
Nash took like under 3 a game in his career, so he really is like the young Steve Nash.
Wow. How did I not notice that? Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
has not took a free throw. How is that possible for a point guard?
I don't know. It's pretty crazy, but he has kind of a high floor still with just, he's a great rebounding guard. He'll get his dimes. It's just, if Hill's out, he gets a little bump for sure.
Yeah, definitely. Any of these other Philly guys interest you before we move on? Stauskas has been awful lately.
Yeah, he can't shoot, so I'm done with him. Yeah, there's no one else really.
And especially with Covington back. I really like Covington, and I think that I'll probably be on him once his minutes go up before his salary catches up. But at 20 minutes, you just can't play him right now.
Yeah, 20 minutes for sure. Another thing with McConnell is if Pressey's out again, that gives him a little more minutes. Safety, so it'll be something to look at. I think he's doubtful right now.
Okay, yeah, so something to check. Not a whole lot of injuries tomorrow that we have to look out for, but obviously, Indy backcourt could affect some things. So next game, let's move on. Timberwolves at Magic, and we have no line as of right now. So not sure what Vegas is thinking about this one, but let's start with Minnesota. Rubio, we're not sure if he's going to play. He's playing tonight, right?
Yeah, he is playing tonight. So, the Zach LaVine show might come to an end tomorrow. But we'll see. They're on a back-to-back. So
maybe they
could sit him. I also have a line, I think, Orlando -7.5 and a 196.5 total.
Oh, okay.
And I saw it earlier. It might have changed.
Okay, gotcha. 196?
Yeah.
Dang, that's lower than I thought for –
It's Scott Skiles, man, my least favorite person in DFS.
Yeah.
Just slows his offense down, puts pressure with his defense.
Yeah.
He's the worst.
Yeah. So if Rubio doesn't play, what does that do for you as far as changes, guys?
Yeah, I'll probably play LaVine again, with Rubio out. Yeah, probably. He only played 17 minutes on Sunday, I think foul trouble, but he still scored 25 points. And his price isn't anything absurd. He's got a high usage when he starts. So, yeah, absolutely.
25 against Memphis, too.
Right. If Rubio's out, I really like Zach LaVine, so I will definitely strongly consider him for cash if Rubio's out.
Do you like him in real life?
I do. Yeah, no, I do, actually. I do like LaVine.
Yeah. I think that's a pretty popular and like I'm not even sure where I am on it, like whether he's actually good. I don't think anyone knows really.
Yeah, he's still young, He can definitely get better.
And so Zach Lowe, did you read that Lowe article today?
Yeah, I did. It's pretty cool how I didn't really ever think about it too much with the Wolves, getting KG, Andre Miller, and Tayshaun with all these youngins and show them the ropes. I think that's pretty sweet, KG.
Yeah. No, yeah, that was a very cool article. And he even talked about Levine and how Levine and Rubio actually want to play together, but they just won't let him. But I think it would be interesting to see how Levine could do on an off guard position, kind of full time. But I don't know.
Yeah, I'd bump Wiggins up to the 3, but yeah, that
Yeah.
would be certainly interesting.
Yeah. So let's move on the rest of the Wolves. Towns at 73, Wiggins at 66. All these guys seem fairly reasonable. Are you on any of them?
Yeah, I think you got to consider Towns for cash. He's got a 19.5% rebound rate, which is ninth in the league. He's got a very high usage rate, 25%.
Yeah.
He's got 6 double-doubles in his last 10 games or first 10 games. So, you got to consider that on DraftKings for that bonus. And he shouldn't have any problem scoring with the pick and roll in this game.
No, yeah, agreed. Wiggins at all?
Wiggins is just generally more of a tourney player for me. His price is pretty solid, but it's just his lack of peripheral stats. He's very dependent on his scoring. And I do think he'll score a lot, but just in the chance that he doesn't, and he's on a back-to-back, so it's a little makes me get off him a little. So he's a prime tourney play for me.
Yeah. And the only really other guy that I'm interested in here for many is Jellica. How do you pronounce that?
My boy Bielitsa?
Bielitsa, yeah. There you go. He's kind of like Wiggins to me. He's very hit or miss, but at 47, probably a little too expensive for me. But if you have him in tournaments, I wouldn't judge you.
No, yeah, he's not bad in tourneys, and I don't know. Make sure you play him next time they play the Hawks, so you can get a little bit of revenge on Teague.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, revenge game for sure. Orlando side, again, another center in the 7K range. Vooch, any interest there?
Not so much. I don't really love him down low with Towns. Yeah, with Towns there, he's more of a tourney play. He can get it done, but I'm not banking on it.
Yeah, that's kind of how I am too. Do we have any idea of whether Oladipo is going to be cleared to play or still?
He's still not even cleared, so I think I'm ruling him out as of now. He's considered doubtful, but I am going into tomorrow as that he is out for sure.
Gotcha. So Fournier?
Yeah, Fournier is kind of my only guy really strongly considering cash in this game. Just has a pretty solid floor. His minutes, are going to be up there, and I just don't know if Wiggins will be on him to deter him a little bit. So, but with Depot out, his usage bumps.
Yeah, for sure. And the only guy that I really like in this game for Orlando, but I do actually really like him in tournaments, especially if Depot is out, is Tobias. He's definitely not a cash game play at all, but he does have a really high ceiling.
Yeah, he does. He's a great tournament play. A lot of these guys are actually tournament plays. Same with, Peyton. If CJ Watson remains out, he's gone for big minutes in his last 2, and, he obviously can't shoot at all, but he's got a pretty solid floor. And, if he still does have triple-double upside if CJ Watson's out. So I think you have to kind of put him in some tourneys.
Yeah, and especially if Rubio is out too. Rubio is a really good defender, but obviously Levine, super athletic, but not the defender that Rubio is. But that would be an upgrade for Peyton on the offensive side for me, at least.
Right. And then I think Aaron Gordon, if he drew a star, I know it's been Channing Frye right now, who hasn't been very strong, but Gordon's getting more burn lately, and I think he's an intriguing option.
Yeah, what's his price right now?
He's only 4,200.
Okay. Yeah, so that's definitely reasonable for sure. Cool. Yeah, so let's move on to the next game. I have Dallas at Boston, and we got a line here. It's total is 205. The Celtics are 5-point favorites, and so it puts implied points Dallas at 100 and Boston at 105. So let's start on the Dallas side. Dirk has been money lately and is still at 65. Are you on him at all?
Just tourneys. I'm not on anyone on Dallas and cash. They have won 4 in a row, and then Celtics are looking good right now. So it's a pretty cool game. There's huge total, but I think Dallas is generally a tourney team for me. Like, Dirk bringing the clock back. I can't count on that enough to consider him in cash. Same with Wes Matthews, and then even Dwight Powell at his cheap price, getting some extra run here is another tournament option I like. But no cash plays for me on Dallas.
Yeah. So as far as tourney plays, the kind of the really interesting guy to me is Parsons. I'm not sure what his minutes are going to be like, but he only played 21, and he ended up going out of the game early because he got hit in the face or something. Something.
Yeah, he came back from that. He was expected to just play the first half, but he started the second half and was pulled pretty quick. He's still right around that 20 minutes. And I wouldn't expect him to shoot, I think, 8 for 11 every game. So
yeah,
pretty off him until his minutes get lifted.
That's fair. Okay. So you don't think that his minutes are going to go up at all for a while?
Not from what I've read now.
Okay.
At least for tomorrow.
Yeah. So that is interesting that Dallas is up at 100, but we don't really have any guys we like. But I guess it's just they're consistent. If you look at a lot of their guys, you look at their game logs, a lot of them have really bad games and really good games. So I guess it's just kind of a tournament team.
Yeah, they are absolutely a tournament team.
Yeah. Okay. Boston side. Anyone stand out to you? Probably a couple guys.
Yeah, I think you need to have some exposure to this game. Boston did kind of tighten up their rotation, but I think they played 13 guys in that blowout over the Rockets the other night. Poor Rockets getting beat by RJ Hunter. It's pretty rough. But I think Solinger, he's been pretty highly owned actually, which is surprising, last week and a half because his minutes are just never consistent, but he's absolutely producing. He's got, he's averaging 10 rebounds a game this month, and he's getting some steals and blocks every game. Really the only downside is his minutes, but I like him here. He's a cash game option.
Yeah, for sure. He's at 6K. He was a power forward earlier, right?
Yeah.
And then now he's a center?
Yeah, and I think he's still a forward on FanDuel, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. They've changed some guys around. I know that Boogie got changed to a power forward, right?
Yeah.
So that was interesting for sure. So where are you kind of looking other than Sullinger? Any of these other guys? Marcus Smart has been a pretty solid play lately. Up at 48, he was kind of in the mid fours, but getting over 30 minutes a game, and not going against great Dallas wing defenders. West is good, but none of those guys are getting minutes. So interested in him at all?
Yeah, Smart. I had him last game, and he shot 1 for 11, but he still got 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 5 steals salvage. But I think he's more of a tourney play. There's a little narrative street for his recent outburst against Oklahoma City because, he played at Oklahoma State in college, and I think he balled out hard last year too there. So, he shows out in front of his friends clearly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's definitely something to remember. Yeah, see, I don't know. This game is weird to me in that it has a pretty good total on it, but there's not just guys that I love to have in my lineups. You're right. I think we need to have exposure, but there's not standout plays to me.
No, there aren't. And there are actually quite a few games with high totals, so I don't think you really need to focus too much on this. But Solinger is great for cash. And then, if Avery Bradley's coming off the bench again, I think you can consider Isaiah Thomas. He'll get 15 shots minimum, get some threes, some dimes. So he has a pretty safe floor as long as he's starting and getting guaranteed minutes.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so let's move on to the next game. We got the Pelicans at the Thunder, and we do have a line over-unders 213.5. So up there, definitely for sure. Thunder are 8.5-point favorites. So puts implied New Orleans is at 102.5, and OKC is way up at 111. So a lot of points here. Definitely a game you want to have some exposure to. So let's talk New Orleans side first. To Brow or not to Brow?
I probably won't. 10-8 is pretty steep. I will if I can. Like I said, I generally play him when I think I can afford him, but there's some value at power forward now, and I don't think you have to go him, but he's in a good spot. Well, kind of. He's not in a great spot, and I think you should probably consider him in cash more when he has, really great matchups. But Drew is likely to sit, so bump his usage a little bit, and he should be fed with that pick and roll all game. They'll kind of have to get him going to compete in this game.
Yeah, and that's why I think that he's a good tournament play tomorrow. Is just because they're not going to stay in this game. I don't think if he doesn't have a big game. So
yeah, I don't either. And Thunder get their shots blocked quite often. So I think he obviously has upside. And
yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely. 10-8 I think is. I mean, it's pricey, but I think if you can fit him in, he's definitely fun. It might be a little expensive for cash for me, and especially in this matchup against Ibaka. I probably am not going cash, but in tournaments you kind of have to go just a little exposure, especially if you go a lot of lineups. So speaking of Drew out, because back-to-back, your boy Ish, I assume you're going heavy Ish.
Yeah, I love Ish, obviously. When Holiday's out, he should produce pretty well.
Are you worried about Russ?
Yeah, I am. I was going to get into that. Tony Douglas is his backup, and I think Ish will play a lot, and, he's their main ball handler, and he has double-double upside. So he's a great cash option, but, this game's going to be nasty with Russ. He's the top play of the night, I think, easily. Ish is, he's 6 feet tall, and they don't have anyone to stop Russ. Eric Gordon's a horrible defender. They're really, really missing Quincy Pondexter right now, who's a great on-ball defender and can, slow down point guards. But I think Russ is just going to torment Ish. It's not going to be fair.
Yeah, I agree. So I'm not super on Eric Gordon either in this game. So I think 64 is okay. So I don't mind him in a tournament because I think he's got some upside if he gets hot. But other than that, none of the rest of the team kind of stands out to me. Ashik got scratched tonight, so Cunningham got the start, but I'm not really sure what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't think it was anything serious for Ashik, but I think kind of regardless, it doesn't matter.
Right. It doesn't. It's really just Ish, Anthony Davis, and then, like you said, Eric Gordon for tournaments, really. Yeah. It'd be nice to see Robertson sidelined again. And then, Gordon's just so streaky, he relies on his shooting, but the Thunder aren't great at defending the three, so I think Gordon in tournaments is a fine play.
Yeah, definitely. So on the Thunder side, Justin and I talked about in our pod Sunday about the Monday slate that Westbrook was up at 12-2 and it's just so hard to play him in that spot because he has to get to 70 DraftKings points to make it worth the upside in a tournament, and then he dropped 72 DraftKings fantasy points.
Yeah, that's what he's going to eat tomorrow, and I'm going to try as hard as I can to put him in cash. I think this is just
really the
greatest matchup for him
because of Ish.
Possibly have. Yeah, he's going to dunk all over Ish. And Pelicans, they have a horrible defense anyways.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a great spot for him. He's obviously really pricey at 12-2, but the upside is there, obviously, and a great matchup.
Yeah, it feels good when you have him in your cash lineup, though. When you fade him and then you see he's 35% owned, it really you're trembling there watching these games. Yeah. It's not a fun feeling.
It's not. Yeah, I agree. So other OKC guys, Ibaka, he's
Ibaka for sure. Yeah, he's a tourney play for me, and he could be cash too.
See, that's my thing. He's definitely turning me for me, and I just on a regular slate 6'9" is really that's cheap for Ibaka. He's been at 36, 37 fantasy points in the last 5 games average. So crushing value. I'm just a little worried about Brow.
Yeah, it's not the greatest matchup, but Ibaka's usage rate climbs considerably when Durant's out, as evidenced by last year. So
it probably bounces out.
Yeah, he has a pretty safe floor. It's tough to go him in cash, but I wouldn't be upset with it if I ended up with him in cash.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think that's fine. Yeah, I think he's fine in cash for sure. Any OKC guys? Cantor in the
Yeah, I was gonna say I think his ownership will be so low, and that's a
yeah,
guy that he can double off the bench. You know,
easy. Yeah, and not
yeah,
even very many minutes.
right. And if he gets more minutes, then yeah, I think he's like a prime tournament option for this game.
Yeah, and with a fairly large spread, and a lot of implied points, this seems like it could be a game where they kind of roll him out and let him do some damage with the second unit.
Yeah, absolutely. And people will probably be scared off him. He's only been playing 17 a game the last three, but
Yeah,
I would appreciate some low ownership, and I'll have some shares of Cantor for sure.
yeah, me too. So the only other guy that's potentially interesting, I think, here is Dion.
Yeah, we're him for last, obviously. But
Yeah,
yeah, his increase in minutes, hasn't really done much for him. He's so inconsistent. But just with this matchup, they're dead last. Pelicans are dead last in defensive rating. So yeah, I think Waiters could get it going. He's definitely not a cash game play though.
no, definitely not. But I think he's a pretty solid tournament play. Um,
He is for sure.
this just seems like a prime garbage time waiters game, you know?
Yeah, I mean that's what he does best. So
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's definitely fine too. Okay. Anything else that you want to move on?
that's it for that game.
Cool. So next game is Portland at Houston, the Houston Rockets, which we cannot figure out. Over under is 209, so another pretty high total. And looks like the Rockets are 7-point favorites. Puts the implied points at 101 for Portland and 108 for Houston. So let's start with the Portland side. Dame is under 9K, which kind of makes him interesting, especially in tournaments. Are you interested in him? Maybe in cash too at only 8.8.
Yeah, I absolutely am. This is a good spot for the Blazers. Rockets are 29th in defensive rating.
Yeah,
They've given up 100 points every game this season. And Dame's usage rates over 30%. He's going up against Ty Lawson, who has
not great.
defensive rating of 106.7. I mean, he's absolutely horrible. I think Bev is doubtful, so we should just see Lawson really on Lillard.
Yeah.
So yeah, his floor is so high, Lillard, and obviously his upside's there. I think he's a fine cash game play.
Yeah, and he's probably one of my favorite tournament plays on the night as well. At 8.8, he's I'd have to look to see where the other point guards are, but Westbrook's up at 12.2, and then the dip is to Lillard. So I would assume actually his ownership is actually going to probably be up because he's kind of the best point guard you can get other than Westbrook at 12.2.
Yeah, I mean that's a lot of money you're saving pivoting from Westbrook to Lillard.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that jumps you from a min center to one of the best centers just by going Lillard instead of Westbrook. And they could very easily have the same sort of game. So interesting. So tournament, Lillard or Westbrook at their prices?
I mean, I'm as high on Westbrook as I've been all year, so it's tough for me. They're both in great spots. I think for tournaments you should play both in some lineups for sure.
Yeah.
They have some serious upside.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. If you can fit him in, obviously that'd be tough. But
yeah,
I think that you can, especially in a big slate. It's obviously easier to fit in like a star or scrubs lineup. So I'm fine with that. McCollum at all 65. He's been so up and down for me.
Yeah, he makes for a great tournament play. I'm not touching him in cash, but like I said, this matchup is just too tough to pass up. So some shares of McCollum are great. If Harden's on him, he's dead weight on defense. So I think you got to consider him pretty strongly.
Yeah. So Myers Leonard's going to be out. He's already ruled out for tomorrow. So are you interested in any of the bigs for Portland?
No, Terry Stotts is just – he's playing Chris Kaman 20 minutes at night, and then, then he doesn't play at all the next night. It's just – it's bizarre. And we won't know anyways in time because Stotts thinks it's just, this huge advantage hiding his lineup until tip-off. And they've lost 6 in a row, so, good job there playing Kaman.
Yeah, for real. So anyone else for Portland? It's kind of Lillard and for me. I mean, you could talk me into Aminu at 6.
Yeah, Aminu for tourneys, just the pace of this game and just the high total. He's going to play a lot, especially if Ashik is out again.
Yeah,
Um, and he scores a lot in transition, and I think this is a pretty good game for that.
yeah. So he's okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's not my favorite play, but he's
No, I mean Houston obviously doesn't get back on D, so I think Aminu can have a pretty big line here.
yeah, agreed. Um, so let's go to the Houston side. So Harden at 10-1. Obviously, it's a little bit pricey, but I think this slate is particularly interesting in that all of the top guys are in seemingly pretty good matchups. So I think it's kind of interesting to figure out where you want to go, whether you want to go Lillard or Russ or Harden. Obviously, in a good matchup going against a not great defensive backcourt in Portland. So 10-1, are you interested in? I assume probably in tournaments.
Yeah, I'm actually really heavy on Houston in tournaments. I will be tomorrow. They're coming off that players only meeting. They just look so bad. I think tomorrow's the day you scoop them in tournaments before, they reel off 3 or 4 wins in a row and their prices climb, or people will still be slow on them for tomorrow in tournaments. So
you think their ownerships will be down?
I think they won't be as high as they should be. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Howard was dominant, but in the last couple games,
he's taken
foul trouble, right?
Not even really. I mean, blowout. Yeah. He's had some games where he gets in foul trouble and some he doesn't at all. But he's only taken 10 shots in the last 2 games. I don't even know what they're doing anymore.
Yeah, you're right. 2 for 4 in 30 minutes. Yeah, what's up with that?
It's bizarre, but like I said, it's a
prime tournament.
Great tournament spot for Dwight. His price is not bad.
7.5, yeah.
He lives in the paint, and this is a pretty solid matchup for him.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah, I'm definitely fine with Dwight. And I love Terrence Jones at 6'2".
Terrence is the cash guy for me. Yeah, absolutely. He's logging. I'd like to see him consistently start and log these heavy minutes, but Mikhail said he might change the lineup up, which I don't blame him, but I think Terrence is kind of finally getting his legs back, and he should stay in the starting lineup.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's clearly their best option at 4.
I do too. Yeah, for sure. So,
yeah. He's a good player, like legitimately good player.
He is. I agree.
Yeah.
And then Harden, I think you can pass in cash. I'm really, really high on Houston, so I think, that price for Harden isn't too terrible. I'll go him a lot in tournaments, but the only thing that worries me is the based god's curse on him.
That's something you have to worry about. Agreed. Yeah.
I mean, he's got the curse on Durant, and you see Durant on the sidelines in a suit. So obviously,
it's real.
That curse is legit.
Yeah. Don't mess with him. Yeah, for sure. Anyone else? That's kind of it. I am definitely on Houston, but it's kind of those top 3 guys. I'm not super on Ariza.
I think Ariza's fine for tournament. His 3-point ability in a type of game like this, high floor minutes. So, yeah, tournament option, but nothing more than that.
Yeah, I hear you. Okay, so let's move on. Keep on moving. Next game is Kings at the Hawks. Another pretty high over-under, actually. It's 210, and it's actually a pretty close game, says Vegas. Hawks are just 4-point favorite. So Sacramento's up at 103 and the Hawks are at 107. So a little bit closer than you might think. So I think it's just probably some interesting spots for these guys. So let's start with Sacramento on the road at Atlanta. Boogie at 10-3, now a power forward. So I actually kind of love this because that means that I can fit in Boogie and still 2 centers.
Yeah, Boogie's cash game, obviously, for sure.
260
usage rate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Huge minutes. He's limiting his foul trouble. Mm-hmm. Taking 12 free throws a game lately, 20 shots. I mean, he's the safest.
Hitting 3-pointers. Yeah.
Yeah. He has 9 threes his last 3 games. So, and the Kings, they've won 3 in a row. That's why this spread's a little close. Hawks coming off a back-to-back. So it doesn't surprise me at all. And this is a really good game to target. Kings are pretty high in pace too this year.
Yeah, I agree. Cousins is might be dollar for dollar Probably one of my favorite plays on the slate. He's coming off back-to-back 60-point games, over 60-point games on DraftKings, and at 10-3. I mean, that's kind of where he was. So it's not like he's like been bumping up. So I think very reasonable and just has a huge ceiling. So
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you kind of have to go him in cash, in my opinion.
yeah, and none of the Atlanta guys. I mean, Horford is like all of the Atlanta guys are solid defenders. They're just really undersized, and
Right.
Boogie could eat them up.
Yeah, he can't be stopped, so I'm
By
not scared
anyone
of this
really.
matchup.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
let alone the undersized guy. Rondo
right.
8-7. Ooh, that's getting up there, but still, I mean, he has a super high ceiling.
Yeah, he's not as automatic as he was with Seth Curry out, but that's a pretty steep price. I will probably fade him.
Yeah, because you're talking Dame just $100 more.
Yeah, and he has a much higher usage. So,
Yeah.
Rondo's obviously nice and he's a great tournament player. He's like a fringe cash game player. That's just a little pricey, but that's what it should be. So,
I do think there is some merit to going Rondo in tournaments just because at only $100 less than Dame, like that's a very glaring thing when you're picking point guards to see Dame in a really good matchup at 88 and then Rondo at, all the way up at 87. So I think you would get him at a very low ownership.
I think his ownership will remain relatively high, just recency
so?
bias. Yeah, he's had 3 triple doubles lately, and Curry played 5 minutes last game, so it's not like he's stealing minutes away. It's really all about Collison. So
Okay, well that's fair.
who is questionable, I think. So yeah, obviously if Collison's back, then just I'd get off Rondo.
Complete fade, yeah, for sure.
And then Cauley Stein, I think, is probable, but that's something to keep an eye out for.
Yeah.
He took a blow to the head the other night.
Okay. If he's out, does that interest you in Koof at all? Or yeah, people have been asking us to stop using abbreviations of players. So Costa
Koufos, yeah. Yeah, a little bit, actually, but Carl will probably start Quincy AC or something stupid again. So yeah, and it bumps Boogie up as well. Not that he really even needs to be bumped up.
No. Yeah, that's the thing for me is it doesn't really bump the min guys up that much for me. It more just solidifies how much I love Boogie.
Yeah, there's a lot of love to go around for Boogie.
DeMarcus Cousins, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't know that abbreviation, then why are you playing NBA DFS?
I think I need to work on a abbreviation, a nickname sheet or something we could post on the site.
A glossary.
Yeah, and it'll be deep because I have a lot of nicknames for guys.
Yeah, Evan Fournier. Don't Google.
I'm not going to.
Okay.
I mean, I think I have, but go ahead, say it.
Oh no, it's on his basketball reference page.
All right.
Don't Google.
No, I'm not going to. I don't even like Fournier, so he's off my nickname radar.
I love it. Rudy Gay, 27, 6-3 last game. 40 fantasy points, 6-9. Interest you at all?
I mean, he was my ultra sleeper tourney play last Wednesday with Boogie coming back, and he came through pretty huge, 25 points scoring.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a tournament play. He's still got the upside. He's not a cash game play.
Yeah.
But yeah, he still has a usage rate of 26%. So.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty fair price, and he's always overlooked with Boogie there. So I think I don't even think it's too bad to go Boogie and Gay in tournaments.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
With this type of game, a 210 total,
Yeah.
It's got overtime potential, and I think in a tournament, depending on what you play, which one, sometimes you got to rely on that to get you to the top.
Yeah, I agree. Atlanta side. So the top guys are Millsap at 8 and Horford at 7-2 and Teague at 7, but he's
doubtful, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's out tonight with his ankle injury, and so questionable. Before we get to Schroeder, because obviously he's the super interesting guy here, but Millsap at 8 still seems kind of a little underpriced for him. But yeah. I don't know if he has the upside to necessarily warrant tournament play, but I think fairly safe in cash.
Oh, I love him in cash. Him and Horford should crush the pick and roll in this game.
Yeah.
Millsap they're both shooting 4 threes a game too. I think they have quite a bit of upside, and Kings allow a lot of turnovers. Millsap, he gets those steals. So I like him a lot in this game for sure for cash.
Yeah, me too. So obviously the big news to monitor is Teague and Bazemore were both out tonight. And so
Right.
I'm not sure what their status is tomorrow, but obviously if they're both out, then bumps to both Schroeder and Korver. How would you deal with those two guys?
I'm relatively off Korver this season, just coming off those off-season surgeries. I don't think he can really, get to his spot. I think he's
slower,
still
yeah.
a great shooter, but just getting to his spot is really what made him so great. And they are on a back-to-back. He sat the first 2 back-to-backs and played the last, but it's enough to kind of get me off him. And then Schroeder for sure. It's a fast-paced game, suits him well. Primary pick-and-roll ball handler with, Millsap and Horford. So I like him a lot if Teague – and I think Teague will be ruled out. So
yeah, Schroeder's obviously really underpriced, and it's always a must-start play if Teague is out because of his.
Yeah, and Schroeder's like a primary ball handler. I think he's second in the league in frequency to Reggie Jackson. So Kings allow like 0.85 points per possession to opposing ball handlers, which is 4th in the league. So he's in a great spot. I think he's, kind of a staple of cash games.
Agreed. Yeah, for sure. And then the only other guy that I think is a little interesting is for some reason Tiago Splitter got the start tonight. So I think they rolled out Millsap, Horford, Splitter, and just the huge front court. So,
Millsap at the 3 could do some damage in that, just oversized.
Yeah. So have any interest in Splitter, or is it just kind of more bump up Millsap for you?
Yeah, no interest in Splitter. His ceiling, I mean, he just can't eat,
There's just nothing, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good. We got 3 more games, so let's keep on moving. The next game is Denver at San Antonio. Let me pull up a line. Let's see here. Not sure if there's one. Yeah, we do. So a low one, 195.5. This is the lowest we've had so far in the slate, and a huge spread. Spurs are 14-point favorites. So put some implied points. Denver's way, way down at 90.75, and San Antonio's up at 104.75. So are you kind of in a complete fade of Denver here?
I'm in a complete fade of this game, period.
Okay.
Nothing in cash, even close.
Okay.
I can see Will Barton for tournaments. I'd prefer if he didn't start because I do think this will be a blowout. And he's seen over 30 minutes, I think, back-to-back games. And he doubled, I think, last game versus the Suns. So if he gets to go against Spurs second unit a lot and see his usage rate bumped, I could see him in tourney plays. As for the starters, there's really no upside because there's no way they're on a back-to-back going into San Antonio. It's not going to be close, and those starters will barely play.
Yeah. Agreed. What do you think of Jokic? Not like even as a play tomorrow, but just kind of ongoing. He got 18 minutes and put up about a fantasy point a minute and looked okay. I'm not sure whether his minutes are going to bump up at all, but could be an interesting guy to watch, or are you just not super interested in the Denver backcourt in situations like these?
Yeah, I'm not interested in him much. I think King Joff is doubtful again. So, you can consider him. I probably won't have one share of him at all anywhere.
Gotcha. Okay. So San Antonio obviously projected to score points. Are you just really worried about the starters and the blowouts, or any tournaments for you?
I'm not touching anybody on the Spurs at all. They have so many players. They're so deep that, their starters will do well in the first half, maybe Kawhi. But when they blew out the Rockets, obviously everybody blows out the Rockets. They had 15 – they played 10 people off the bench. So it's there's just no value there. Popovich doesn't care about guys racking up stats. He wants these young guys to see the court. That's why they're so good in the playoffs. And he's good at developing guys. So this just has blowout written all over it. And you're not going to find value here No one's going to play enough minutes in this game.
Yeah. I would say that I don't know. Sometimes Pop in games like this will just pull players just to give them rest. And if that happens, then obviously that changes things. But
For sure, yeah, he hasn't done that yet this year, and they're not on a back-to-back or anything. But
so
yeah,
probably won't.
yeah,
Obviously, yeah. Because, like Kyle Anderson got the start a couple of days ago and put up a nice game
mm-hmm.
in place of Kawhi. So if something happens like that, that obviously changes things. But for now, I agree kind of off this game.
Yeah.
Cool. So let's keep on moving on. Next game is Raptors at the Jazz. And let me pull up a line here. It is 189. Whew. Okay. So, all right. So even lower. 189 is the total. Jazz are 4.5-point favorites. Toronto's coming off a back-to-back, so I assume that's kind of factored into the line here. Puts Toronto implied points at 92.25 and Utah at 96.75. So I guess same question here. Are you fading this one?
Yeah, I'll have some tournament exposure at least to Lowry and DeRozan, just because their usage rates but yeah, I mean Toronto's in a terrible spot here on a back-to-back, traveling from Oakland to Salt Lake. It's just horrible, and they're playing your boy Bismack Biyombo like 20 minutes a game, and he has a negative 7.7 net rating. So
is that good or bad?
That's really good. Valanciunas only is plus 13 on the season, so but let's give Biyombo 20 minutes a game.
Agreed. Yeah, Casey knows what he's doing.
But yeah, Jazz are 29th in pace. They're up there in defensive rating. So this game's obviously for cash. You don't want to touch anyone on Toronto.
Yeah.
I think Corey Joseph has a little bit tournament appeal.
Okay.
On this back-to-back, you could see a little uptick in minutes. His upside isn't super high, so but he has a cheap price and he can be a tournament option at least. He's getting good burn. He's got, I think, 27 minutes per game his last 5.
Yeah, that's it kind of for me. I don't mind Lowry in tournament, and Joseph is fairly interesting just because of his price and the fact they're on a back-to-back. But you're right, not super interesting to me other than that. On Utah's side, so Favors is at 7.6 and Gobert is 6.7. So I think obviously some really good prices here. The matchup in the Vegas line is obviously scary, but their salaries are playable for sure.
Yeah, they're fringe. They're in the middle, cash tourney for Favors and Gobert. Gobert, that's a pretty cheap price. He's coming off his first double-double. He could get a lot of block shots, Lowry driving to the hoop.
Or Bismack.
Yeah, especially Bismack. Yeah, so I like Gobert here. He's in a great spot. Absolutely tourney, and I think, you can consider him in cash for sure.
I do too, yeah. And I don't think he's super affected by low over-under. And in fact, I think that that might be indicative of a Gobert game just because he's still reliant on defensive stats.
Right. I mean, he could get that double-double with the points, but he'll get it with the rebounds, and his block upside is huge.
Yeah, I agreed. Anyone else kind of fringe Utah guys for you?
Yeah, Hayward's there, solid minutes. He's just really been shooting so bad all season, but he gets a decent source of rebounds and assists. So I think, if he does have that breakout scoring game, I think he needs to be on some tournament teams.
Yeah, I like Burke for the same reason.
Right, Burke, same thing. Yeah, if he gets hot shooting, then definitely tournament.
Yeah.
Cool. And then, Favors, Toronto's not very good at defending the pick and roll. So I think Favors is he's a fringe cash game play as well, still.
Yeah, agreed. Okay, sounds good. Let's go to the last game, which is the Suns at the Bulls. The Bulls at the Suns, rather. Over-under is a little bit higher than the games we've just been talking about. So at 199.5. And the spread is pretty close, actually. Phoenix is 2.5-point favorites. Puts implied points Chicago at 98.5 and the Suns at 101. So let's start with the Bulls. any of these guys super interesting to you? I'm
The
kind of
big thing, the big thing will be Derrick Rose. He rolled his ankle, so if he's out, that'll open some things up for sure. And
So what would it open up for you?
well, we won't. I probably won't know who they're going to start, but Heinrich's back now, and he drew a lot of starts with Tibbs. But who knows now? It could be Brooks, but he's not going to go, 36 minutes or anything. So I kind of hope Rose plays because I don't want to find myself considering Brooks or Heinrich.
Yeah,
So,
I don't like either of them, even if they do play.
yeah, really what it does for me, I like Butler and Powell, I think, are cash options in this game.
I do too.
If Rose is out, Butler already has a high usage rate. It'll climb with Rose out. Really close spread. He's very safe. He has a high floor. Phoenix plays second highest pace in the league, so that suits Butler well. And then Powell last season when Rose was out kind of went insane with his usage rate.
Yeah.
So, he's already taken 15 shots, or Rose takes 15 shots a game. So I think, you got to distribute that, and Powell will get extra looks. So I think he's a cash game play for me too in this game.
Yeah. Honestly, the only guy that I'm really interested here is Powell. I'm not like super on Jimmy, even if Rose is out, but Powell I definitely think is finding cash or GPPs. I think kind of regardless of whether Rose plays, but obviously that solidifies it if he's out. I'm not on Rose if he does play.
No, if Rose plays
tonight,
then Rose, Powell, and Butler would become secondary tourney plays for me.
Yeah. Same for sure. So on the other side, on the Phoenix side, I feel bad because Justin and I in our Sunday pod just talked up Bledsoe like he was the best player in the world, and then got like 2 fouls in the first minute, and then just never recovered. And Brandon Knight just went off and had the game of his life.
Yeah, Knight's looking good lately, and if he's going up against Aaron Brooks, he should eat once again. So he's a cash game option for me for sure.
Yeah,
I think Markieff will be back. From what I heard today.
Okay.
Should be no issues going forward with his knee. So Markieff should be back.
So that takes PJ Tucker out.
Right.
Or TJ if you were going TJ, which you probably shouldn't have. But PJ Tucker was obviously playable when Keefe was out, but not anymore. So between Bledsoe at 8.6 and Knight at 7.5, where are your thoughts on those guys?
I'm on Knight a little more just because Butler could be on Bledsoe. So, it's a little tough. And Bulls allow by far the fewest transition points per possession in the league. So that decreases the value with Knight and Bledsoe a little bit since they score a lot of points in the transition.
Okay.
So they're I could see Knight in cash, but Bledsoe for sure tourney at that price. And even Markieff.
5.8. Yeah.
For sure coming off this injury, I think he'll be low owned, especially if he's not guaranteed in by the time most lineups lock and stuff.
Yeah.
So he could have a low ownership percentage in what's a pretty nice game with this close spread.
Yeah, agreed. And that's it for Phoenix for me. I'm not really interested in Chandler at 5.3 just because of how low a bunch of these centers are. And that's it. If Markieff is back, Tucker and TJ Warren are out for me. So that's kind of it on the Phoenix side.
Yeah, same. That's pretty much does it.
Cool. And that is the slate, right?
Yeah, no phantom game this week. There were actually 10. So
okay. I like it. Man, we got through this in pretty good time. Good for us.
Cruised.
Yeah.
I'm going to go play in the snow now.
There you go, man. Maybe find some Grubhub delivery drivers that will accommodate you.
I'm going to try my best.
I hear you. Awesome. So we'll end it there. Thanks for watching. Good luck in the Wednesday slate. And, Jay, you're back with us Thursday, right?
Yeah, Thursday.
Okay. So me and Jay will break down the Friday slate on Thursday night and drop that in video and audio for you. So we'll talk to you guys then. And, again, good luck in the Wednesday slate.
Peace out, guys.